Hello everyone, I am Durga Saujanya, Assistant Professor from ECE Department, MLR Institute of Technology. I am going to give the video lectures for the subject Embedded System Design. Here our today's topic is Memory Organization and Instruction Level Parallelism. So this is comes under Unit 5, which is Memory Organization and Instruction Level Parallelism. So in the overview of today's session, first we have to see the summary of previous session. So in previous session, we have discussed about ARM processors. So what are the features of ARM processors? What are different data modes of ARM processors and instruction modes of ARM processors? So what is meant by thumb mode or thumb instruction set, and what are the different types of instruction sets available in the ARM processor? And so what is the SHARC processor? What are the differences between the ARM and SHARC processor? So these are the topics covered in the previous session. And in today's session, we are going to discuss about the memory organization of the ARM processor, the Harvard and Princeton memory organizations of the ARM processor, instruction level parallelism used by the SHARC processor. So here the memory organization. So the memory organization of the ARM processor consisting of load and store architecture is nothing but the load and store architecture of the ARM processor. So load and store architecture is nothing but here, so we can have a direct transfer of some memory to register. So here this load and store instructions will simply indicates that the direct transfer of memory to registers. So we can transfer the data from register to memory and from memory to register directly by using this ARM processors. By using the previous processors which are like 8051 microcontroller. So by using the 8051, so we are not having the direct memory transfer from register to memory. So here we need to store the data in the memory itself, and after that we need to store from register and from register to data and memory. So here this memory organization requires load and store to be aligned, and a 4-byte word has been aligned at 0x000C or 0x1000, which is a multiple of 4. So that means here this load and store architecture will follows the memory allocation, so which is a multiple of 4. So that is if the first word is stored in 0x0000 and next word is stored in 0004 and next word is stored in 00808 and next word is stored in 000C and next word is stored in 0010. So like that. So here we are having the memory address for each instruction is a multiple of 4 only. Some processor and memory organizations requires little endian and other big endian aligned multiple bytes, whether when there is store into the memory or load into the processor from the memory. So here, so load and store instructions, so those are used for entering the data directly from processor to memory and from memory to processor without having any interfacing kit. So in other processors, just like 8086 processor, we have used the direct memory access DMA controller for transferring the data from processor to memory. But here in ARM processors, we are not using any interfacing kit, just like DMA controller. Here we are having the load and store architecture. So by using this load and store architectures, we have to use each address of the memory location is a multiple of 4 only. So therefore we can have to use either two modes, which is little endian mode and big endian mode. So by using these two modes, we can directly store the memory to processor, we can directly transfer or we can directly load our data into the processor to memory or from memory to processor. So it permits programming at start and enables a programmer to define word alignments either little endian or big endian at the beginning. So at the beginning of executions, that means in the beginning of the main program, in the beginning of execution only, So the programmer needs to indicate the processor that it will following either big endian or little endian. So here we need to indicate the processor if we are using the big endian mode or little endian mode. So little endian mode is nothing but, so the LSB will be stored in the lowest memory location, the MSB will be stored in the highest memory location. So the big endian mode is nothing but the MSB will be stored in the lower memory location and LSB is stored in the higher memory location. So at the time of beginning only, the programmer needs to indicate the processor, so enabling the processor into either big endian mode or little endian mode. So here there are two types of memory architectures are there for ARM processors. One is Harvard architecture and another one is Princeton memory architecture. So Harvard architecture is nothing but it has the two separate program memory and two separate memories are to be available. So one is program memory and another one is data memory. So here in Princeton architecture, the same memory can be used for both data memory and program memory. So therefore, two separate buses are also available for data and address. Here, the same bus can be used for both address and data. So this is about the Harvard and Princeton memory organizations. Here, the Princeton architecture is nothing but it is the architecture which is used for 8051 and 8086. So in which we have the same memory can be used for both address and data. Here, the vectors and pointers, variables, program segments and memory blocks are same for addresses and data. So that is called as Princeton memory architecture. So examples are 8086 and 8051 and ARM7 is also having the Princeton architecture. So Harvard architecture is nothing but it is having same data and address memory. So in Harvard architecture we have the separate data and address memory. So here the program segment and for the memory blocks for data and address are two separate sets. Here the control signals and read write instructions are also separate. Here we have to use the same read signal and the same write signal for both data and address. But here in Harvard architecture we have to use separate read and write signals. Because there are two separate memories, two separate read and write signals are to be enabled for Harvard architecture. Here the separate databases are also used. Here the same databases can be used for both address and data transfer. So next, instruction level parallelism. So instruction level parallelism means here we have used the pipelining architecture in the ARM processor for developing the instruction level parallelism. So here this is the pipelining procedure. Here in this we have used the 5-stage pipelining. So that means in the first stage we have the fetching the instruction. In the second stage we have to decode the data. In the third stage we have to read the operands. In the fourth stage we have to execute the instruction. And in the fifth stage we have to write back the data. So that means here if there are number of instructions are there, so in the 11th clock interval, okay, in the 11th clock interval, if the first instruction, so here in the 11th clock interval, the first instruction is to be going for fetching, right? So after completion of 11th clock interval, when entering into the 12th clock interval, so the fetching of first instruction is completed. So therefore that instruction, that which is called as like 11th instruction. Okay, so this 11th instruction is goes for decoding operation in the next clock cycle. So this is the first clock cycle, this is the second clock cycle, this is the third clock cycle, 4, 5 and 6. So let us having the clock cycles like this. So in the first clock cycle, so the 11th instruction will go for fetching. So next, in second clock cycle, so here the simultaneous operation of execution of two instructions will be happening. So that process is called as pipelining. So that means here the in the same clock period, in the second clock cycle, in the same clock cycle for the same time period, the first instruction is going for decoding the instruction, and so which is 11th instruction, and 12th instruction is entering for fetching the instruction. Understood? Here the fetching is completed, so the fetching cycle is empty. So therefore the same clock cycle will utilized for both fetching the instruction and decoding the instruction. So in the same way, the third clock cycle will be utilized for three purposes. One is fetching the new instruction, which is 13, and decoding the already fetched instruction, which is 12, and read the data from the memory for the previously decoded instruction, which is 11. So here in the third cycle, so the 11 instruction is going for reading the operands, the 12 instruction is going for decoding, and the 13 instruction is going for fetching. So like that, in the fourth clock cycle, so the four operations will be done simultaneously. So the first one is here, whatever the data read by the memory in the for the 11th instruction in the third clock cycle is now going for execution. So execution is done for 11th instruction, and here the decoding is completed. So it goes for read the data for the third instruction, and the fetching is completed for 13th instruction. So it goes for next one, which is decoding operation. So decoding the instruction for the 13th instruction. And now for the next instruction, which is 14th instruction, we have to do the fetching. So in this way, for the fourth clock cycle, four simultaneous operations will be occurred in the pipelining. So that is here, yes, 11th instruction is go for execution, the 12th instruction is going for read the operands, the 13th instruction is go for decoding, the 14th instruction is go for execution. And next, for the fifth clock cycle, so here after completion of execution, the data will be write back to the registers. So therefore, the 11th instruction, which is already completed execution, it write back its data to the registers. The 12th instruction in the previous clock cycle, it goes for read the data. So now it goes for execution. And the 13th instruction, which already completed decoding the instruction. So now go for read for data operands. And 14th instruction, which is completed fetching operation. Now go for decoding the instruction. So now another operation, which is with 15th operation. Now here we have the fetching the instruction. So in this way, simultaneously, so number of instructions will be going to be performed in the same clock cycle. So that is called as pipelining procedure. Here this is an example for 5-stage pipeline. So some processors follows 3-stage pipeline, some processors follows 5-stage pipeline. Right here, as you can see in the clock cycle 1. So in the clock cycle 1, so the first instruction enters into the fetch stage, while the instruction proceeds into the decode stage. So in the cycle 2, the second instruction enters into the register decoding instructions, and first instruction is going to the decoding stage, and the instructions proceed through the pipeline at one stage per cycle until they reach the register write back stage. So here from fetch to the write back stage, so each instruction will followed with the clock cycles. So here in this way, on cycle 6, the instructions from first instruction to the fifth instructions are in the pipeline and completed the first instruction. So therefore it completed and it come back to the write back operation. So this instruction level parallelism, what is the advantages of this? This pipeline processor is still executing instructions at a rate of one instruction per cycle, but the latency is 5 cycles instead of 1. So what are the disadvantages of this? Here, if one instruction, so we cannot say that one instruction can be executed in one clock cycle. So it will take, for completion of one instruction, it will take 5 clock cycles. So that here the latency will be 5 cycles. So therefore the latency is more. So but each cycle period is 1/5 or less compared to the case without pipelining. So with pipelining, here 1/5 is the time taken for each instruction. But without pipelining, the entire clock cycle will be taken for one operation. Here 1/5 of the clock time should be utilized for one operation. So therefore, the performance can be improved by more times in the 5-stage pipeline, but latency will be more. So it executes several instructions in parallel. So 2 or more instructions executed in parallel as well as in pipeline. Here 2 or more instructions, we can say that either they are executing in parallel way or in pipeline way. So during which 2 parallel pipelines in a processors, 2 instructions in and in plus 1 executing in parallel at the separate execution units. So here, if we have used 2 separate execution units for 2 separate instructions, then we can say that those instructions are executed in parallelly. So in the same unit, if the instructions are executed simultaneously in this way by utilizing the clock time period, by sharing the entire clock interval for the number of instructions, so it is called as pipelining. So if there are 2 separate units for executing the instructions separately, so it is called as parallelism or parallel processing. So here in this session we have discussed the summary of previous session. So that is ARM processor features and SHARC processor features, and what are the differences between the ARM and SHARC. So now in this session we have discussed the memory organization of the ARM processor. So that is, there are 2 different types of architectures are to be utilized by the ARM processors. Some older versions of the ARM processors follows the Princeton architecture. So which is nothing but the same memory can be used for both address and data. And recent ARM processors, that is the newer versions of the ARM processors, utilizes the Harvard architecture. So which indicates the different memories can be used for data and address. So what is meant by Harvard architecture? What is meant by Princeton organization? So next, instruction level parallelism. Instruction level parallelism is nothing but, so in executing the number of instructions parallelly in the same clock cycle. So that is known as instruction level parallelism. So that means for the same clock cycle can be shared by number of instructions. So with number of operations. So that means here one instruction will be go for fetching. So one instruction will be go for decoding. Another instruction will be go for reading the data. Another instruction will go for execution. And another instruction will go for write back the data to the registers. So here in the same clock cycles, all the operations will be performed by one instruction each. So that is called as instruction level parallelism. So this is about the today's session. Thank you.